Sweet.
Okay.
Nice. Road club. Okay. Could have just kept quiet. This is funny. And we're in it.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
I'll just wait till we get to the stop sign. And the things are on?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Recording.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
we're on our way to Longwood Gardens, which is a beautiful outdoor, like, it's a garden, but it's also like an open space. Interestingly enough, that convict, that's where he escaped near there. Hello.
That was very interesting as a story.
Yeah, for sure.
Crab walking up a wall.
Like, what?
Breaking through barbed wire.
I mean, he had nothing to lose, so it's like, all right, do
Nothing
what
at
you
all.
gotta do. All right, damn, we're scheduled. Okay, I guess let's start with a snippet of the project. For those of you that don't know me, I'm releasing a project that I spent years on because that's what musicians do. Before you know it, like years have passed, and you're like, oh yeah, that thing. Called Lost in Translation. And we talked about it a little bit off camera, but for context, this project was probably like my most personal body of work yet. Like when you're a singer-songwriter, you can just write good songs about anything, and sometimes it's easier to like write songs and stories that are not necessarily about your life, because that's just the easier thing to do than to like allow people to see you in a really vulnerable space. So like this project was like, okay, this is where I'm at, and this is just like the real raw version of me. So I'm excited about that. Slightly nervous.
It is a beautiful space to be in for a lot of reasons. Vulnerability in today's time is looked at as a weakness. It's looked at as a means for people to take advantage of you. And people use it for that. But that is not a signifier of like what you're showing. It is not like to your detriment in the ways that it feels like it is. I keep going to different schools, and the kids are like, public speaking is the number one fear. And we all collectively realize it, but what's so bad about being dumb in front of people? Or
I'm glad you said that.
What's so bad about being uncomfortable? What's so bad about not hitting every shot?
Right. So that's the perfect segue into like how I've been promoting this and marketing this project organically. Performing is nerve-wracking. Like, it gets fun throughout the process, but it is nerve-wracking, and like there's a lot that goes into it. You know, like the people don't see rehearsals and like stage design and like the thought process and making sure that the track listing is playing correctly or the band, like the cues are right. So with this project, because this is like a really vulnerable moment, for me, I decided to do like this bathroom concert series, which is like unedited, is really raw. I just set my camera up in the bathroom and I did, like, if someone's in the bathroom, someone's in the bathroom. It's worked out for the most part that people have been in the restroom, which is funny. But it's just like 1 minute of me singing either like, you know, pop culture covers or snippets of my project, and not being focused on a mix or sounding perfect or like any of the factors that you would normally think about when you're releasing music, but just being in the moment and like really like nothing is actually getting lost in translation in that moment because it's like raw. And it's been fun. And also, so it goes back to like being uncomfortable. Like it's uncomfortable for everybody in the room. Like someone might be taking a dump or peeing, or like I'm singing and the next thing I know, like someone is drying their hands and they're like, oh, my bad. And it's all of these little vignettes and moments that like form that human connection with other people, but also like a deeper connection with myself.
Yes, and it's interesting. This is the time we're in, and I'm grateful to have heard these songs early and just to see your process and know your story, because it's a lot of people's story, and the lack of vulnerability is putting up walls to make us sometimes believe or I recognize how similar we are. Even as you gave me your background beyond the music, like it's showing me the space that you've grown up in different ways, and all these different experiences that I would have no sense of if I was just a tourist in the space. Like, well, maybe I'll go to the library. Maybe I'll go to Longwood Gardens by myself and then leave and not know what the black community is like here, not know what the history of that small town is, or even know that there's black men in your town that own that much property or had that many opportunities. I'm big on references. Vulnerability is an opportunity to give people a new reference. So as people hear your music and get more in depth with the story of your father, the story of your upbringing, and the different ways you've had to navigate Philadelphia, LA, and just be who you are, I think that's the truth. That's the truth of an artist.
Yeah, for sure. And like being more comfortable sharing my story now. Like, I mean, the story is continuous, but like the not so fun moments have really helped me to be more like, I'm not the only person experiencing this. And sometimes we don't talk about it. We just go through the process of like getting to the end of the day. Sometimes we overshare, and then that's not necessarily always helpful because you're sharing so much, but you're not really like moving through the process. So like trying to find the balance of all of it. And I think that's kind of, going back to like things being lost in translation. So this song was really, this project was really like a lot of that, like, well, here is what really happened. And then also being able to be like, okay, this is a space within my artistry where I can be more vulnerable outside of the music and share my story as well. So like I mentioned to you, before I did this project, I had released a body of work called Butterfly that I like loved. It was all about like the evolution of self, and I was in a space. I released that project in 2019. I was in a space where I was transforming and growing and becoming something more than just like an artist, but a more well-rounded person. And in the process of that, a lot of hiccups happened. So like the stems were lost. We had to release the music and master it as is. So it had a more like, it didn't have as much of a raw feel, I guess is the best way to put it. And budgets were tight. I worked on doing like visual elements of the project with a young lady that went to the LA film school for her like senior project. And I went back to LA. It was like right before the pandemic. And I was kind of being back and forth between LA. That's pretty much was my journey with LA in general. And the girl, we set up this timeline to shoot everything. And I get there, the timeline's like off. My dad's birthday had just passed, so I flew home to see him, and I was like, I'm gonna be right back. I just gotta go do this thing, and then I'll come home. And like, we think things are gonna go a certain way. I had to push my flight by like 2 days to come home, and the world just shut down. I'll never forget it because I was at a friend of mine's house, and like because I had to change my flight, I got a connection in like Vegas, and it was like gonna be like an 8-9 hour layover. And my friend was like, what time do you need to be back again? And I told them, and then I took a nap, and I woke up, and they were like, I just bought you a different flight direct so you could get home sooner. We didn't have any idea that the next day the world would shut down. And so even though I got that direct flight, I still didn't get home in enough time. And the nursing facility that my dad was in just shut down. And that was the last time I saw my dad, like ever, physically, was when I went home for his birthday. And we were really close. So at that point I felt like, all right, well, this was not what I expected at all. At least let me like finish this body of work with the visuals, and then I can feel like I didn't just go back to LA to do this project for nothing. And I like reached out to the girl that shot everything a bunch of times, no answer. Reached out to the production team, and they were responsive, and they were like, I don't know why she's not following up with you. We'll talk to her. Like months and months went by. We were like deep into the pandemic at this point when she finally reached back out and sent me a really, really nasty, belligerent email that was, basically saying she never planned on using the footage or giving it to me, and that she didn't appreciate me reaching out to her team to see what was going on. And I could, like, throughout the times of reaching out to her, I kind of expressed what had happened and how, like, big of a loss that was for me. And she just, frankly, she didn't give a fuck. And I had to take a huge step back from music and all of the things that I was doing at that point to, like, kind of grieve and start the healing journey from there. So it's like, as painful as it was, that element of things getting lost in translation had such a big impact on my life that I was like, okay, I need to take a step back and reevaluate everything I'm doing. And so then I, eventually got to the point of making this music with people that I could trust and I felt safe around and that understood me. And it really shows. Like, the body of work is, like, super strong, and I'm really proud of it.
Indeed. There's so many elements to our stories and so much nuance and so many gray areas and parts that you can't write into your manifesting journals. And I recognize as well, like, these hiccups and these struggles and these moments where people are, like, trying to form these weapons against you, right? Are so defining. Those are the moments that I express the most gratitude for. Those are the moments I appreciate the most. When I look back at the text message threads where people were like, you're not this. And then I'm out here being the thing that they said I wasn't. The moments where it's like people get their just due in ways that they don't even recognize. And it's not a thing of I want you to suffer. It's more of a recognition that my kindness wasn't wasted. My truth wasn't the problem. My oversharing at times, because I've overshared a lot, to the point where, like, this podcast had a hiccup because of my loss this year, where I was talking a lot about the grieving process as I'm literally grieving. Yeah. Like, I'm going out to do podcasts and coming home to grieve with my dad, unknowingly at times. And then we're staying busy to avoid the fact that, like, we're living in a house where my mother passed away. Like, it's these moments where it seems as if it makes sense, and then the curtain is ripped open or the rug is pulled out from under us. But I'm grateful for your ability to commit to your vision and stay the course, no matter how complex it gets or no matter who doesn't understand your translation.
For sure. And I think those experiences, like you said, like, those experiences taught me valuable lessons. Like, LA is one of those places that will spit you up and chew out. Like, when I moved to LA in 2016, I had, like, so a lot of people don't know these background elements. They only see what they see on Instagram. And going through these experiences taught me to be more vulnerable with that, because that's what people can relate to. At the time, my son was super young, and I had an opportunity to play for JoJo. Get out right now, it's the end of you and me. I'm that old, yeah. And I was like, what? This is nuts. This is, like, my first actual real opportunity. I had, like, dropped out of school because I had got pregnant, went back for community college, and, like, so I felt like, okay, this is, like, a defining moment for me. And I felt like I needed to include people around me that had no idea how the music business works in that decision-making process, which that was, like, the first step of, like, you got to stand in your truth. Long story short, that situation did not work out. The timing didn't align. I was in Chicago when they had hit me up. But my mom and I had sat down. She was like, I think you should try being bi-coastal and, like, experiencing doing music out there on the West Coast. It seems to be more opportunity. And that was a hard decision to make. Okay, I'm going to be bi-coastal and split my time and, like, be a mother who's doing something super unconventional. So from that moment, even though I chose to do that, I hid a lot of it because I didn't want to be judged by people. Like, oh, you're in LA sometimes and your mom's, like, watching your kid for you. That's weird. But that was my reality. And so I think going to LA was great. I've made wonderful friends and connections that I hold dear and value. But there was a lot of influence around me that affected my authenticity. And, like, my authenticity was always what made me flourish. So fast forward to that moment in 2019 with this girl who just totally screwed me over. I never replied to that email, by the way, because it's like, nothing would have changed. So I just held it. But I realized by holding in a lot of things, I'm like withholding a lot of who I am from people. So after that experience, I was like, I'm going to be more vulnerable about what I'm going through and where I'm at in my life, because people have to be able to see the journey to appreciate where you're going and when you get there. So I've been more conscientious of that, and this project is a great opportunity to share more of these moments in my life and be more honest about how the process has been and what it's looked like. And I'm more grateful for that, and how it's also helped me integrate like my artistry into my passion of like helping others, mentoring, being more involved within my community. Because music is cool, but it's not fully fulfilling, like if you don't have purpose within it.
And those are the other parts I sit with, like your activism, making people aware of Parkinson's, making people aware of the different things that youth in Philly are going through. I'm showing up at City Council, going to these different spaces, and carrying on your father's legacy, as well as setting your own mark in this space.
I've been looking at the road, y'all, but safe driving is key.
Absolutely. Look, that's why we got the special mic. I've been watching too. I'm looking at the areas. I'm looking at the scenery. This is a special state to me. It's funny that it's like right up the road, but it's so big. Like Pennsylvania is a really big state. And then like I don't always put all of the pieces together until I'm in it, but like going up to Ohio and going through Michigan and seeing all that open space, it just it's different things I can feel, and maybe I'm just feeling it and I need to do more studying, but seeing Underground Railroad plaques, even you mentioning that the house that had the Underground Railroad under it, and taking a trip to Canada on the whim, like
randomly,
randomly,
to ride bikes,
right, and just seeing how close it is, like seeing the proximity of Detroit and Ontario, like that is all of these moments where I'm like, oh, you gotta go touch it, you gotta go experience it, and that's part of why things are lost in translation, because as artists we can only give the snapshot sometimes. And then as visionaries, we can only see the still image. I like to say, put your dreams in motion. What does it look like to be living in the dream? What does it feel like to get that $10,000 bill for the mansion? What does it feel like to get have to do maintenance on the Jeep, maintenance on the Benz? What does it feel like to have to pay $800 to get to California because it's a last minute flight and you're rushing and your timing's off and now you're 3 hours behind in the world? Like mentally you got to catch up because jet lags and all these other games is like, it's easy to sell people on the look, on the feel, on the image, but to actually give you the ins and outs, Hollywood was the start of it, selling an image, crafting a narrative. But giving people that back end is always great opportunity and is a major blessing for anybody who can benefit from it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And you got to just be willing to put yourself out there for those. And I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and basically, I asked for a huge favor, which I'm not going to share. I'm going to wait till it manifests, because it will. Mm-hmm. And then we'll circle back to this conversation.
Yes, indeed.
But that's a full circle relationship right there. But anyway, and I was like, you could say no, and that's okay. I really don't care. If you say no, I'll probably ask you again. And that is like, if you want something bad enough, you'll be persistent in it, and you'll be okay being uncomfortable with someone being like, no, and they were like, basically like, that's how you thrive. You have to just be cool with putting yourself out there. Like, who cares what anybody thinks? And I think the more you do that, the more things start to open up and align for you, and in your time. And that's the other piece of it, is like, and when I say your time, I mean it really in God's timing, but it's like the time that He has for you. Like, if you're so busy watching what everyone else is doing, because I went through a lot of that, especially as a mom in the music business, you get wrapped up in everyone else's story that you kind of forget about how to share your own. And I've been through that. And it's really important to let people see you where you're at, so people know when to come in and help, where they can help, like what you need or how you can help them. Like, you got to be able to be real, because if you can't do that and you can't be real with yourself and like who you are, you're moving through life in a really limited way.
Yeah, it's
honestly.
a halfway effort. Is a lot more fear than faith. It's a lot of things that come about. One of my mentors gave me the quote, "Ignorance is the source of all suffering." And I bring it up just to say, like, not knowing yourself and having or denying self. Like, people can teach you how to deny yourself, but you have to accept that as your reality. So people can tell me, like, oh, you ain't really hitting with the music, but it's like, nah, I still love to make it, though.
Right, and it's like, that's your opinion, and that's
right,
fine.
and that's the opinion. Like,
everyone's not gonna like it.
Yep.
All right.
Everything ain't for everybody. Oh, nice. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, Hercules.
That was a hard lesson for me to learn too. Like, I went through the phases of, like, I'm gonna be the greatest singer in the world. I'm gonna have the best voice ever. And, like, that was humbling. Oh my God, let me tell you right now. Like, that was real humbling. Like, no, actually, Brielle, everybody has their own special thing that makes them them. But good luck with that, you know? And then because you have that framework of I'm the best, you put yourself on a pedestal that will quickly get shattered because, you know, people ain't gonna like you.
Yeah, I've been sitting with competition versus companionship. And it's like going from competing with others and competing with self to finding more companionship, finding more opportunities to honor yourself and the others around you. Because I started this podcast like me versus me, and I got up to 90 episodes in 9 months, which was like, what? But
That's insane.
It's super insane. And then I sat back, like, I've proven the point. What else is there to do? Now I got to go live, but I've forgotten some of what living looks like for me, because living for the last 9 months has been running. It's been running to prove points. It's been running to do things I said I always wanted to do. And then I was like, whose clock is this? I said, who is this for beyond me? So, yes. Y'all gonna have to check that tape out when it comes out. Y'all gonna have to tap in to all of the beautiful things that life has to offer. You know, I'm this guy from this place. This is Aprilfoolchild.
I'm gonna leave y'all with this little snippety.
Aprilfoolchild. You know what I'm saying? We at a spot.
Great marketing here. Just had the music ready to go. In true fashion.
Yes, indeed. Look.
Let's give y'all this little snippety before we dip and go look at plants and flowers and all the cool things.
Where do we go when it's done?
I be crying to this sometimes.
How do we know what we become?
Some real stuff right here.
Yeah.
Where do we go when it's done?
The sub.
How do we know
Sup?
what we become? They say healing comes with time. It just feels no different. Lost inside my mind, trying to find the exit. Peace long in the distance, sanity been slipping. Wishing times were simple. Close my eyes and you still living like backpacks, fruit snacks, Captain Crunch with the Rugrats. Summer camp, that's a throwback. Take me back to all that. Friends be like, is you fine? Deep inside I be lying. Late at night I be crying. Memories all on my mind. Going in.
That's all you'll get. Meow.
Yeah.
Good vibes. Good times.
Yeah, I laugh because when you put out Big Papa, it was the one for a lot of reasons for me. And it was like a intersection. So then knowing your story, along with my own story, it's that vulnerability I'm speaking about. So, like I say, be intentionally positive, be intentionally prosperous, blessed, intelligent, and prayerful. We are built in private and we are blessed in public. Bippity.
Love y'all.
Yeah.
We were searching for the right way, did a lot of wrong. Can't go back, gotta move on. Gotta move forward with corrections given and accept that living still brings pain. Even when you're moving with the best intentions and you blessed with visions of joy, bliss, peace. Gratitude for every day I live to speak and I live to breathe in growth and abundance.